Are we going? Okay, I think we're going. All right. Welcome, friends. I'm Jim Astin, more affectionately known as Dubacked. So this is toy photography for beginners, and I hope you learn some information on here. I've been doing this for a couple years now, and first of all, I still want to just disclaimer that I still consider myself very much a beginner. So I will show you what's worked for me as well as tools that I have learned from other people. And if you have any input or things that you like, things that you have questions about, or anything like that, or things that you've done with your own toy photography, then by all means, come on down and we will get on this. Let's see. Okay. So first off, actually, Jess, can we make sure, am I in the right channel? Just want to make sure I'm not on mine and not the creator stage. I'm having some doubt. I'm good? Okay, perfect, thank you. Shout out to Jess, my admin. She's going to be monitoring the comments and posting any links, things like that. First up, before we jump in, I wanted to give a shout out to Richard and Sarah Wolofsky and everyone else who put this con together. All of us were feeling, withdrawals from not being able to go to Celebration in person, myself included. And so thank you. And as part of this virtual Forcefest con, they are doing a really big push for Make-A-Wish Foundation. So it's been a theme of the entire weekend to be generous as much as you can and donate to Make-A-Wish. And if you're not familiar, Wish Kids and families, Google Bat Kid, because that's probably one of the most inspiring Make-A-Wish scenarios I've seen, where they basically got the chief of police and the mayor, this little boy who had some form of cancer. I can't remember he was sick. They turned the entire city of San Francisco into Gotham City for a day where he got to be Batman. It was the coolest story ever. But anyway, so Make-A-Wish, and Jess is going to put a link to the Make-A-Wish Foundation in the chat there. Okay, we are going to get started. Let me pull up my notes here. As I said in the description, toy photography can be a little bit daunting or kind of obscure for some people, but really, if you have a phone and if you have a toy, you're good. That's all you need, and that's your basis. However, I'm going to show you a few more little tricks that I've learned along the way, and a few little more props. So what I'd like to get into first is there's different types of toy photography that I have found that I'm going to go over. First one is just collections. And so that's going to be, let me see if I can share my screen. There we go. All right, let me pull up this picture here. Okay, I'm going to share, let's see, unlock seats to share screen. Oh, Jess, can you unlock so I can share my screen, please? Perfect, thank you. Okay. So let's see, can you guys see this here? As evident from behind me, you can see I've got a bit of a fascination with dewbacks. I've got, I swear, like over 20 of them in various different sizes and shapes. So that's the first thing that I wanted to go over was collection pics. And then here's another one of all my various different Darth Vaders. I'll make that a little bigger. And they're on display, which most collectors do put their stuff on display in one way or another. If they are boxers where they keep stuff in the box, or if they are openers. I personally am an opener. Yeah, and in fact, I've even got probably like 3 more since I took this picture. Yeah, so I think I need an intervention. Okay, I will stop sharing for the moment. Okay, so collections is the first thing that I wanted to go over. In fact, actually, I wanted to share one more thing. So let me jump back into my screen sharing here. I'm going to be all over the place. Okay, in the spirit of true transparency, oops, where did it go? This one. This is little high school Jim with my collection of 3.75 figures all along my wall there. These are actual pictures from the yearbook. So apparently people thought my collection was either weird enough or cool enough that they made I got a spot in the yearbook. So that's one of my little claims to fame, I suppose. So there's that. All right, let's switch back over. Okay. All right, so collections, that's the first one that I wanted to go over. The second one is props for photos. And let's go over, I'm gonna be sharing a bunch of pictures and screen sharing. So let's open these three up and share again. And I apologize if the constant jumping back and forth between screen sharing and me and all that stuff. I'll tell you what, I will move this one so you can see me while I'm screen sharing. How about that? There we go. Okay, this is me at FanX here in Salt Lake with Jonas Sotomo, who plays Chewbacca in the new Disney sequels. And I've got a little Dewback plushie here and a little Chewbacca plushie, which the reason why I'm cheesing so big is because you only have like 10 seconds with these celebrities. So I handed him the props and he immediately started like, roar, 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 just like playing with them. And it was the funniest thing ever. This is me with Pablo Hidalgo and Tom Spina in front with Regal Robot. And I brought him this Dewback, and of course, it seems like it's a total icebreaker whenever you bring a celebrity, toys, because especially if it's one of them, like having Jonas have a little Chewbacca, or this one here when I met James Arnold Taylor, who did Obi-Wan, obviously. I brought him a little Obi-Wan from Clone Wars on my little Lego Dewback, and then got his autograph. And so it always is just so much fun when you bring props for photo ops. Let's see, we're going to switch back to camera. Okay, so that's number two. First one was collection and then props. The third one, and this one has a little bit of a backstory, so I'll go over this one in just a moment, is traveling toys. Yes, James Arnold Taylor is the absolute. I was a fan of him as Obi-Wan. And then after we saw his one-man show, The Talking to Myself, I am a fan of him as a human. We sometimes have had some awkward encounters with celebrities where, you love their work and then you get to them in person and they're just a completely just horrible or just a different person in general. James Arnold Taylor, nicest, most genuine, humble guy in the entire world, I swear. Okay, traveling toys. This one is a fairly common one that I've seen, and this is actually how I got started in toy photography. So let me jump over here and I will show you a few more screen sharing. Okay, let's look at these ones, this one. Sorry, I've got all of my pics kind of just on my desktop, but I need to organize them just a little better. So if you guys have any comments or questions, throw them in the chat while I am getting my brain back on straight. Okay, let's open you guys and share again. Okay, this is my recreation of the trailer and poster shots from Rogue One. Actually Aruba, which we went on a cruise last year. So I, of course, brought a handful of toys in my luggage. I had to go through customs and all that good stuff. So yeah, they're stormtroopers that are in the beach and in the sand. That's one thing that I would caution. Whenever you do, oh, thank you. Whenever you do toy photography, especially when you're taking them out into the elements, especially sand, just be aware that sand can completely destroy joints or rust or all that stuff. So make sure you take care of your toys. Wash them super delicately whenever you do it. Yeah, Jonathan, you would want to do this with your Lego Troopers? Yeah, those are fun. Okay, next one here. This is an aquarium that is a local hotspot that we take my kids to. And of course, I wanted to poke some fun at it and put the trooper onto an iguana. And what's really fun is a lot of the time I will tag the companies or locations of where I take them. And for the most part, they've all been super good sports about it. They'll either like retweet it or comment saying, love this or whatever. And so, obviously, as long as you're within rules or, especially with animals, you're being gentle, things like that, they love the publicity. And you get to have this fun little kind of column or, a little feather in your cap of this fun little thing that you're doing there. And then this is Galaxy's Edge, which I've got a pretty funny story about this one. My wife, Kayla, is watching right now. So I personally have never been to Galaxy's Edge. We were supposed to go this weekend when we were going to be in Anaheim. But so the story behind this is she went to a convention with her company, and there was talk of them going to Disneyland as well, and then talk of going to Galaxy's Edge. And so she had to pull me in and do this like sit down, serious conversation. And she said, "Are you going to be okay if I go to Star Wars Land without you?" She's like, "If you don't want me to, then I won't." So one, I married an amazing woman. And so I said, go ahead. I'm like, but since you're going, here's my list of demands. And of top, we've got my little dewback here, which is funny because she was there for several days. So she had this little guy before I did. She named her Clarice and totally bonded. And I didn't even realize when I asked her to get this, but it talks. So props to the Creature Shop in Galaxy's Edge. So that's one of my favorite dewbacks, and it also has a fun little backstory to it. It's your BFF. But speaking of traveling toys, so another backstory. That's how I got my start into toy photography, which, let me reach over here. This big guy, I can stop screen sharing for the moment. Okay. This big guy, bam. Can you see him? He's too big for the screen. This is the 12-inch scale dewback, which, there you go. You can see a little better on the phone there. One, he's the size of a large dog. So I got him on clearance at Toys R Us back in high school, and I've had him, forever now. And because he's so big and just, you walk in the room and he's right there, what happened was we started kind of doing an Elf on the Shelf or a Flat Stanley type of pranks on each other, where like Godfather, I would wake up and I would slip the dewback under the covers, and then my wife would wake up and do the whole like the horse head, and then she would prank me back by, putting him on like the shower head. And so when I got in, he's like right there. Or, so we just got this fun little thing back and forth of we refer to it as dewbacking each other, or you were then dewbacked. It's a verb, which is where my username came from. The rule was if someone dewbacked you, you then had to dewback them in turn. I also work with a bunch of just lovable geeks in this, cubicle farm. And so I brought the dewbacks to the office, introduced them to the glory of dewbacks, and now we all totally prank each other. If someone leaves their computer unlocked, we'll put him on the keyboard, or have a picture of one, taking a bite of their sandwich, or just, any office shenanigans involving toys. So she had the idea, okay, you have all these pictures, you have all these fun stories. Let's create an Instagram channel and start posting them. So that's what I did 5 or 6 years ago, which, if you scroll to the very bottom of my feed, it's all just kind of those silly pranks. Once I started kind of delving into toy photography in general, like my whole world opened, and I discovered this whole subgenre of toy photography where people are doing these just insane action poses, recreating movie scenes, using pyrotechnics and atmospheric effects and all these just insane, really cool effects. And so I thought, hey, let's take this up a notch and start doing this. And I encourage you guys watching to follow a handful of Instagram accounts. One of them is Toy Pit Community, which is just kind of a collaboration of, hundreds of different toy photographers. They do challenges, they do like March Madness brackets, they do gift cards. Like, it's a really fun community to be part of. One of my favorite ones is Gerald Middleton, who is Sir Dork 730 on Instagram. Let's see if I have anything I wanted to display about that. Another one is Sergeant Bananas. So those 3 Instagram accounts, and I can put those in the chat later. Those 3, specifically Sir Dork and Sergeant Bananas, have been recognized like officially from Lucasfilm in commercials, in ads, and oh, perfect, thank you, Jess. When Last Jedi on Blu-ray came out, they commissioned Sergeant Bananas to do a custom Blu-ray jacket cover of the Rey and Kylo fighting the Praetorian Guards. So that's a pretty awesome clout, basically, to put. It's SGT Bananas if you want to put him in there. So check those guys out. A lot of the effects that I've learned has been from them. So let's go over what the next thing is. So traveling toys is the third one. Movie scenes, recreating them or reimagining them is one of my favorite things that I've been able to do with toy photography. So I wanted to show off a few of my examples here. Let me see if I can find those. And I'm not monitoring the chat 100%. So if anyone has any questions or comments that I'm not seeing, I apologize, and we'll try and get to those as much as we can. And I had all these all saved a few minutes ago or whatever, but now I cannot find them, so to speak. Okay, there's one. All right, let's jump back over. Okay, here is one of Mando and Baby Yoda. This one is kind of an homage to the title poster. The Mandalorian, his silhouette is in the words. A few others here. We've got this nice one of a sand trooper on the dewback with the moisture evaporator, which I will get into on one of my other discussion topics in just a few minutes. Let's cruise through here. We've got Luke looking at the binary sunset, and I added these ones digitally in just a photo editing app on my phone. Here is that's the inspiration. Yep, the binary sunset. Let's keep it going here. This one was a lot of fun. This is kind of the inspiration between the laser wall, moment in episode 1. How I created this one was I had this, a few sheet metal scraps, and then I found this kind of see-through, kind of mostly transparent red, kind of a binder cover from the dollar store, and kind of manufactured that little guy in there and made it look like Obi-Wan is behind this laser wall, and then put a red little click light to give it that nice kind of faded look, and then Darth Maul is in the foreground there. Let's keep it going here. This one is another example of kind of atmospheric effects. So this was kind of my take on this March of the Resistance moment in Force Awakens. These little guys are just on the water, and this one is a really fun effect. You can either just simply just sprinkle or splash water and then take the picture right at the right moment. Or I have another one that is really fun that I'm going to show you in just a moment. There's another one of the water effect from Kaz in the Resistance. This one is one of my favorites. This is my take on when Mando goes into the Mudhorn Cave. And this is just simply a pile of dirt that I dug a little hole in the side of my house. So that's a cool thing, is really you can do these toy photography, really anywhere. Like this is the side of a brick, like a retaining wall. And then I just grabbed a few vines because I never, like we've got a bunch of weeds and stuff. So another one is like, this is Mando doing his homage to James Bond, which I'm jumping forward a little bit, but another one of the ones I really like doing is crossovers or kind of spoofs. And so you can see, I'll show you another one. This is Luke singing in the rain with a little cocktail umbrella. This is my example of Clever Girl from Jurassic Park. If I'm going too fast, then please tell me in the chat and I will slow it way down. Let's see, here is my take on, so I will either try to recreate scenes more or less exactly, like this one right here, the scene from the first episode of Mando where the guy tries to get away and he chops him with the door. So I'll try and recreate them, shot for shot, so to speak, on one hand, and then I will also try and do my own take on them. Like for instance, this shot, never appears in Empire, but it's one of my favorite shots. I've got it printed, right over here on the wall. And then, okay, so this one right here is kind of a fun mixture. This is a scene from Hoth on Empire. This right here is an Action Fleet snowspeeder, so that actually is from Empire, and that's very much in the foreground. This is Poe Dameron, so he's from the sequel trilogy, so he's not a Rebel pilot, but I've got him in there to kind of just be a placeholder. This is an AT from Rogue One. I just went into Photoshop and color corrected the little orange on here to make it look just like a standard AT-AT. So that's kind of that one where you can try and fake it as much as you can just to try and throw these off here. How long does it take you to set up your shots? Oh, geez. Sometimes it's just a quick little something. Others, it can be hours. Or I will take probably like 80 to 100 different shots, different angles, setups, things like that, in the hopes where I get, one or two good ones, and then I'll go in and try and do it again. I will show you an example, like for instance, this one right here, I've got Mando cooking a marshmallow on his little pulse rifle there because it's got the forked thing. That shot I took about, a fraction of 2 seconds because it started melting his gun. Yeah, it did. And so I immediately blew it out. And, again, kind of going back to the sand and the troopers, you got to be prepared and be careful depending on what you're going to be doing. Like here's another one where I've got this sand, blowing into his face here. And, you can get joints and all that stuff. So like my this guy back here, I've used him in the beach and all that stuff. And so his joints, they kind of scratch a little bit, unfortunately. This one here is my take on the scene when Rex is getting Order 66 from Palpatine in the latest season of Clone Wars. And this right here actually leads me into a good, my next segue is props or kind of dioramas. So I wanted to show you that doorway. I will stop screen sharing for a moment. Okay. Okay, props. These right here is what I primarily use for kind of these space hallways and doorways. And all this is a spice rack. Oh, there I am, I'm backwards. It's a spice rack. And then I just took out the, the cross beam, so to speak. but they do a great job of, they can open and close a little bit. So, there are some fantastic diorama examples online of people who sell them, 3D print them. They are like screen accurate. Problem is they charge accordingly. And so I haven't really expended quite a bit in that. I take advantage of trying to cannibalize my own, or I will look up tutorials of just household items and try to make my own. An original translucent printed panel with palps. That's cool. Another fun thing is a lot of toys will come with these backdrops. They're not 100%, fancy, but if you put this kind of far in the background and then kind of, you can easily sell this as an actual diorama, kind of like a matte painting from the actual movies. I wanted to show another example. This is the latest one I've been working on. This is a diorama that I've been making of like a Tatooine entryway, like from Mando or just otherwise. And so I went through and added these little craft sticks here, these little popsicle sticks. And all this is just kind of this blue foam core. And this is very much a rough draft. I'll go through and add some stucco or Mod Podge or something like that to kind of give it that nice Adobe look of a lot of the sand structures in Tatooine or some of these other kind of rough planets. I also have just this blue poster board that is nice when I put, because a lot of time I will take pictures at a park or a sandbox and I want to, kind of sell that it's Tatooine, but obviously I've got grass or swings or whatever just out of the shot. So I like to put this just kind of there to kind of sell that it's this nice blue sky. So where do you stand on keeping toys in the box? I am a firm believer that toys do not belong in boxes. I used to be, I had my whole display of 3.5-inch ones there. Particularly Black Series, I really value the artwork on the boxes, but Black Series they're sculpted so beautifully and their articulation demands to be played with, demands to be moved around. In fact, that's another terminology of toy photography is called articulated comic book art. So I'll show you a few examples right here of how you can really get some great articulation out of these guys. You take them out if you have photo ideas. I used to be more kind of a classic collector where I would just kind of put things on display or have it be more or less like a, like a decoration piece. But as I started going more into toy photography, like for instance, I have 500 Darth Vaders or whatever, but really I only want to use, a handful. Like I've got my Black Series here and he's really the only one I use in my toy photography. So the other ones I would either just box up, or I've been selling a bunch of stuff on eBay to try and then, roll it over and pay for my other hobbies to buy more things that I actually want to use. So that's my go-to lately is, am I going to use this? And a handful of times I will buy a figure specifically for a shot in mind. I'll take the one shot and then I'll kind of just put the figure away. I might have future ones in the meantime, but I bought one of, let's see, where is he? Mace Windu. I already have 4 Mace Windus, but this one in particular was doing kind of this force hand thing. And I really wanted him to do this Shatterpoint. And if you don't know what Shatterpoint is, it's Mace Windu's special force ability. So what I'm planning on doing is taking a little piece of glass or kind of plexiglass and just kind of adding some cracks with a nail or something, kind of making this nice Shatterpoint look, and then putting his hand on it to help kind of sell it. Because most figures have kind of just, the holding. So I bought that one for specifically that shot. And after I do that shot, I might use it, might not, either there. Okay, let's keep going. Another one I really enjoy is taking Sorry, let me back up. This one's kind of two-part. You have some knockoff Legos to appear cracked. Ooh, that's cool. I like that. Plus, a lot of figures come with battle damage or they're distressed and things like that. Like, for instance, you know, my Sand Trooper, he's got kind of sand, you know, put on there. And you can go in. I've seen a couple of toy photographers who will take like a shiny new Stormtrooper and they will put black shoe polish on him and then we'll kind of wipe it off to kind of grunge him up to make it look like he's, you know, actually been out in the fight. And he's not a shiny anymore, as Captain Rex would call them. Okay, so the next one is household or everyday activities. This is more kind of the silly. So part one is bringing the figures into our world. And let's see, I've got a few examples of what I wanted to show. So here's one. Okay, I'll open these three and then I'll screen share again. But what I mean by that is you take, you know, something the size of a toy and then you bring it into life size. So like, for instance, I've got my little BB-8 and I put him on a pool table. I also did another one of BB-8 in a foosball table to make it look like he's the ball. So he's a really easy one to kind of sell that. I've got my Lego Phasma here listening with her headphones to the Phasma audiobook, which I tagged Delilah Dawson, the author of that one, which that was a lot of fun. I've got Anakin waving goodbye to his mom as he's going to first day of Jedi school. A lot of the time, whenever I do these life, bringing them into our world, it'll usually be centered around some kind of an event like Christmas or 4th of July or first day of school or, you know, just kind of these fun little milestones, you know. So that's that example of bringing them into our world. A really good one to sell that is, you know, Ant-Man, because he does shrink. And so you could have Ant-Man next to a pair of, you know, standard size shoes. Or I've seen people, like I've got a little dachshund, or like with the iguana, I'll put my figures on him as if they're riding it and or they're being chased by it. And so it's a really fun way to kind of involve them in real life. A little side story about that, my little Lego do-back, most of the time whenever we go out, I'll throw a figure in my pocket or something to, you know, take a picture at a restaurant or whatever. My wife rolls her eyes. Specifically this time, I think she was at the bank or something, or at the grocery store. And she's looking through her purse to try and find the money. And of course, there's a do-back on top of everything. And the cashier's like, oh, is that for your kids? Like, oh, that's cute. Your kids are putting stuff in there. And she goes, nope, that was my husband. Doctor's office. Thank you, love. So yeah, she puts up with my shenanigans. Okay, so that's part one, is bringing them into our world. Part two is bringing our world down to them, which I think I enjoy a lot more. So I'm going to show you a few examples here. And I'm going to do so. Let's see, Jess, can you make the second one the presenter here? And I apologize if you're going to get nauseous by my shaky cam, but we're going to go ahead and do this. Okay. So, for instance, right here, I've got Sabine with her little apron that I got from a gift card at Home Depot. And she's painting on her little easel because she's the artist. I've got this handful of stuff here, which, side note, if you are interested in toy photography, the dollar store can become your best friend. I've got a palette, which I haven't really decided what I want to use for yet, but how awesome is this little palette? You know, I could easily create like kind of a grungy urban alleyway with Spider-Man or something and throw a couple palettes in there to kind of help sell that. Dollhouse furniture, I cannot speak enough about this. You can so easily sell dollhouse furniture. I did one just last week when my kids started school, where I set them up on a table with their little laptops and tablets because they're all virtual. A little fish tank. You know, I could easily put like a trooper from behind there, like tapping on the glass or something. Now I did life-size BB-8 on a pool table, so now this is kind of the reverse of that. I've got a little, finger pool table that I can, put some troopers with their little pool cues and just, play like they're getting off work or something. Little tech skateboard, little basketball hoop. All of these things came from the dollar store. So even if you're on a budget, go there and you could easily, spend only a couple of bucks and get some really fun props. Specifically, these all came from the toy aisle. The easel came from the arts and crafts aisle, which I recommend checking that aisle also. Okay, bringing our world down to them. We've got Lando here doing his vlogging, but rather than having him be on the cockpit in the Falcon, I've got him on the toilet because, why not? We all look at our phones and stuff on the toilet. I could also have him, at the side of the pool in a little lounger or something like that. One of my favorites right here is I really enjoy kind of a meta thing where I like having figures take pictures of figures, or I have figures playing with figures. I did a nod to Spaceballs where I had Vader playing with a bunch of figures, and Tarkin pokes his head in and he's like, "No, I didn't see you playing with your dolls again." All right, let's see if there's any other. Ooh, this one right here. Again, arts and crafts aisle. There's this little baggie of cut wood. I've got super buff 90s Luke, which, we now answer the question of how he got so ripped. And he's just going to simply chop this wood. So I can easily just set this up in my yard, or if you have a fire pit or a rock or a wood pile, throw that next to him and you easily sell this. It's super easy. And because I do so much on Tatooine, I picked up a couple bags of sand. Again, be careful, be considerate, because this stuff gets everywhere, as Anakin said. And so you want to make sure that it doesn't, you don't mess up whatever you're doing with cleanliness. All right, let's flip you back around. Did it work? Okay. A few other examples. Let's see. Ooh, the party favors. So again, just cruise through the dollar store. I found, where are you? Can you switch the presenter modes again, please? Okay, let's see. I did one with this Memphis Nest and Lego. Take your kid to work day. Ooh, that's fun. I did a Halloween one with Django taking Boba Fett trick-or-treating. And I think this coming Halloween, I'm going to do a trick-or-treating thing where all the little trick-or-treaters come to the door, and who answers the door but none other than Episode 3 Anakin, and he's got the saber and that look in his eye. I know, gets dark, I'm sorry. Okay, party favors for baby showers. I found this little buggy here, so rather than his little egg crate, I throw Baby Yoda in there, and boom, that's a fun little thing that I can throw in there and have Mando start pushing him along, as opposed to, his actual egg crate here. Okay, what else do we have? And does anyone have any, are you enjoying this? Or, I'm geeking out like crazy, so that's fun. I did one of Rey walking her dogs, which was BB-8 and Dio. Trooper taking a bubble bath. Let's see. Ooh, I've got one. There's those little bubblegum arcade little things of like Pac-Man. They're the perfect size for 3.5-inch stormtroopers. So I've got them kind of set up in an arcade. All right, Dora, did you just do the 50 V coin? Congrats, thank you. That's very generous. Okay, let me go through my notes, see what else we have. Okay, we've got the silly or the crossovers. Those are my favorite. I already showed you the James Bond. Let me go back to screen sharing and see if I can find those. Okay, here's the example of them doing their virtual learning school. Oh, I did want to show off a few things. One of the questions people asked me about some of the techniques was lighting. I know there's all kinds of fancy lights, professional, there's ring lights, all that stuff, which I'm a fan of if you have the budget. But otherwise, again, dollar store, or I think this came from like Joann's, like a craft store. It's this little tap light that turns different colors. And so I will easily use this. And you can see Palpatine's little hologram there. I will just, there you go. Home Depot on clearance. Thank you, honey. You're keeping me on the straight and narrow. So I will easily, like for a red, like my Darth Maul and my Obi-Wan, I threw this on there to give this nice red reflection on their faces. Green. So a nice thing is most sabers are either green, blue, or red, so you can easily get away with this. It's really convenient. Okay, let's keep cruising on down here with the crossovers. Here's another example of the aquarium. He loves the tap light. Yes, she bought like 6 for her, and I stole one. Okay, here is a silly one that I did of Krennic and Tarkin fighting over the Death Star. And as you can see, Tarkin is totally owning him. Crossovers where, oh, here we go. This is one of my favorites that I did. This is Pikachu zapping with Force Lightning, Rey with her double sabers. And her face is all determined. I did that lightning effect in Photoshop. I've got that's a vintage that I did on a photo editing app on my phone of, you know, Mr. and Mrs. and Baby Yoda here. I personally haven't seen this movie, the Free Solo documentary, but I wanted to recreate it with Han Solo. Here's another example of a life event. You know, this is 4th of July. All right, more crossovers. Let's see what we got here. There's that Jurassic Park one I already showed. And then the Singing in the Rain, the James Bond. Oh, I don't know if I'll be able to find it now, but I did, if you're a fan of Arrested Development, the guy with the one arm, I did one of the Wampa saying, and that's why you always leave a note. Things like that. Let's see. Here's my nod to Jerry's Game, that classic Pixar short of the old guy playing himself in a game of chess. And so, again, this is that little craft table or the little dollhouse table. I did add the chess set digitally in Photoshop, but we've got both Palpatines playing chess with each other. Let's see if I can cruise through another one, more of my favorite. I'm all over the place, but this is another example. This is my house. This is the side that I've got a stucco. And so dioramas wise, you can easily sell these real Star Wars world environments using real world environments. You can see like this is just cement, but you know, if you were to pull this into an editing app and kind of bring the warmth up to make it more orange, it'll really sell kind of a desert or that theme there. Okay, let's keep it going. Crossovers. Here's another one that's kind of the real world brought down to their level. You know, I think we've all, especially when we're all working from home, done this, working on the potty there. Here's an example of that blue backdrop that I use. Sorry, I'm seeing a bunch of chats. I should look at those up. You've been afraid to take your toys and figures out of the boxes, but now you want to. Yeah, Jess, it's more the merrier. It's so much fun. Oh, and you're right, Kayla. Our kids have really gotten into it too. A fun story about these is this sandbox here is at the local park. And so whenever my kids go to the park, I'll throw a bunch in the bag and bring it. And so there I am in like the beach volleyball sand pit, and I'm taking pictures. And then sure enough, about 5-10 minutes in, this group of like 10 or 15 kids slowly start kind of making their way over to me. And they're like, what's this guy doing? How come he's got toys? Can I play with your toys? And I'm like, oh yeah, doing toy photography as if it's a normal thing. And so, yeah, it's always a good time. I always get some interesting looks there. Here's my Abbey Road, my Beatles. I just saw yesterday, not too long ago, so I wanted to give my shout out to Abbey Road there. Oh, I wanted to pose a question in the chat here. It's using real world environments to kind of sell that they're this really cool grungy thing. Spidey's up on this, black, really dark corridor here. Can any of you guess what this is? Thank you. Saving money. Yes, I try and do this, on the cheap. I'll anytime I'm driving around, I will see like a rock wall or something like that. And I'd be like, ooh, that would be a cool environment. So part of a bookcase. Good guess, Jess. No, this is outside. So think like this is not something that you'd find inside the house. Laundry chute. Ooh, that's a good guess, Jennifer. All right. I'll give you like 2 more guesses. Think garbage. And I don't have a behind the scenes photo. That's another thing that I'd recommend is whenever you do these photos, a really fun thing to do is a little video or kind of a series of photos of how you did them. Like I showed with the Obi one, where I showed it was that red, kind of see-through thing there. Yes, Lucas could find whatever he could. This is the side of a dumpster where like the garbage truck has that forked thing to lift it up, and they have those little rectangles where the fork thing goes in. And so I was just driving along, or I think I threw my garbage in there or something, and I thought, hey, that's kind of fun and grungy, and it gives this nice, depth. And so I threw a Spider-Man and a Batman in there. Here's one Batman just in the side of a broken part of a brick wall. Here's Spidey on a little drain pipe that's in the parking garage of my office. Here's Spidey on, this is the roof of my building to help try and sell that he's, high up. Thanks, guys. Those are all really, really nice things. Here's another example of where I tried to match one exactly to the scene in the movie as much as I could with these broken pieces of cement and the trees in the background. Yes, my puppy. She's all ears. Here's one of my favorite crossovers that I did. The first time we saw the Knights of Ren, I immediately went Nazgul or Ringwraiths from Lord of the Rings. And so in Rise of Skywalker, you've primarily got the 4 heroes that are going on the adventure, which those are basically the 4 hobbits. So there's my inspiration, all 4 of them, and the Nazgul sniffing them out above the tree branches. I have this little rock planter in my front yard. I just picked up a couple of branches and then some moss, which you can buy, craft moss. This is real moss because we had some growing on the side of our house. Oh, well, good. Thank you. All right, let's see. Here's one I did of Thanos where he's holding a piece of die, and then I went into Photoshop and added the Tesseract and some of the glowing effects there. Let's see. This is an example where I had to reshoot it. I wanted to recreate the scene of, the most tragic scene in Star Wars where they're punching Baby Yoda. And so I set them up, took the pictures, and then I went back and watched the episode. And I realized the angle that I had was all completely wrong. And so then I went back and set it back up again and tried to match this, where they're kind of coming at them from this angle a little bit better, because the way I had it before was kind of backwards. Here is another one that I really enjoy doing is recreating vintage photos. So this is the classic World War II kiss with Reylo. And I did this one like back in October or September last year before Rise of Skywalker came out, where they actually do kiss. So that was kind of my, my prediction, so to speak. A knockoff Lego and IG. Ooh, that's fun. I don't have any IG-88s or IG-11s, so I want to do that. Here is my nod to that deleted scene from Empire Strikes Back, where 3PO rips off the thing and the snowtroopers get owned by the Wampa. So this is, again, an example of kind of a reimagining, because you never actually see this. You only see his arm. Thank you. The spice rack. Yep. Yeah, I enjoy looking outside the box. This is another example of, this is the parking garage in my office. I'm sure the security cameras are like, what the heck is this guy doing? Because I'll get off work and I'll set up a little something and they're like, what is he doing? These are like ventilation pipes. and I am setting up toys and taking pictures. Here's a crossover where I say, in space, no one can hear you Wilhelm scream, because the xenomorph is owning this stormtrooper. Did anyone else get this feeling, or I'm sure everyone else got this feeling in Rise of Skywalker, where she's like, I am Iron Man. I mean, I am all the Jedi, and then she snaps her fingers, you know, like. So I have this little gauntlet that my kids have. Again, added all the little gems. Somebody asked earlier how much Photoshop I use. I try not to use it a whole lot, except for when I've got saber blades like this or glowing effects. I will do a lot of, I've got just a little photo editing app on my phone, or, you know, iPhone or Instagram has those just editing on the Photos app where you can make it lighter, make it darker, things like that. Yeah, like this one right here. This is not my favorite work. I need to go back and clean this one up, but I went through and, you know, try to recreate these scenes as much as I can. All right. I use, let me stop sharing. Oh, look at that. That's fun. What app do I use on my phone? One of my main ones, it's just simply called Photo Editor. It does a really good job. It's got these smoke and explosion effects that I really like, as well as just your standard brightness, contrast, you know, all that stuff. But yeah, I will use that one quite a bit. Let's see what else we have here. I've got all kinds of goodies. Now, the next part I wanted to go over was some of the techniques that I do. So one of them is posing figures, or as I call, from a certain point of view. Thanks, Obi Mike. Oh, you're welcome. Okay, so Jessica, can you swap again and make it presenter? Oh, wow, that was fast. Okay, there we go. So I majored in filmmaking, and I've taken a handful of photography classes, and so some of this is going to be drawing inspiration from that. Okay, so for instance, anytime you've got an angle from above, you immediately diminish the character. So as you can see, the posing and also the angle, Luke right here looks incredibly weak. And rightly so, because this moment in Empire, Luke is weak. And so here we are in the foreground, powerful, scary, or if I were to switch it around, you know, where I am basically Luke's perspective looking down at Vader. Again, if you look at a character, if you put the angle below, it immediately gives the character strength, intimidation, you know, whatever adjective you want to use. So on the flip side of that, here I have, you know, this, well, by the way, Unleashed figures are freaking epic. This is a Luke Unleashed from Return of the Jedi. So now, if I bring it down, Luke automatically has the high ground, you know, like Obi-Wan, and Vader is now in the position of minority or inferiority, where now he's the weaker one, and Luke is the one who's higher up, and I've got this angled down. So if I were to angle this up like this, one, it's just kind of awkward, and two, it doesn't show you any sort of balance of power. So I bring it down, immediately Luke has the power, Vader is weakened, as opposed to Vader has the power and now Luke is weakened. So camera angles and posing. You know, this right here is a very kind of submissive, weak pose. And again, you've got Black Series who have amazing articulation. So please, you know, that's why I say I'm an opener, because, you know, the toys have articulation and sculpting for a reason. All right, let's move these guys out of the way. Here's another way to really sell this. I don't know if I can do it very well, but I've got this little Godzilla, which is only like 3 inches tall. And I went ahead and added these little buildings here just out of that blue foam. Now, again, from up high, you can see that he's not very big, that it's not very impressive, yada, yada, yada. But I drop it down. Let's move that one out of the way. And you immediately get this sense of scale. You get this sense of height, fear, you know, all that stuff. So if I were to put, you know, a little guy right here in the foreground, here I got a Rancor. to kind of give some scale. I put him in the foreground, and now Godzilla immediately has a sense of height and scale and fear and all that stuff. So you can really play around with camera angles. The other thing I want to say about that, for instance, let's say I've got, Lando on the potty here. If I shoot it from above, it's like I'm a human looking at a toy, from above, because toys are almost always, smaller, they're on the ground. If I bring it to his level, it immediately gives a sense of realism, like I am there in the room. So you want to put things more, just, the way you angle them. We talked about higher, lower, but this is just kind of more equal on their level. Okay, my other bag of tricks here. Next thing I want to go over, again, as I mentioned at the very beginning, if you have a phone and a toy, you're done. But this is just a few little things that I've taken this above and beyond. These little plastic stands or wires that can really help with figures that are flying, jumping, falling, things like that. So here I've got kind of that classic pose of Kylo freezing Rey on Takodana, which I would just easily take this out in my backyard. And, because it's basically this foresty green world, and I will easily be able to, and again, posing, if I do it straight on, because it's kind of clear, you can easily hide the supports. Like you can still kind of see them a little bit. And if I were to shoot it from the side here, you can see them. But if I were to then put some foliage or like a tree behind her, or I could pull it into Photoshop and remove that. But I try to use Photoshop as little as possible. So I will either hide it by putting him in the foreground, or I will just try and take it straight on so what you see is very minimal. And that's the reason why it's clear plastic, because you really, can't see it very well. All right, another one is everything in Star Wars is basically either super grungy or super shiny. And so here's an example of a way you can easily sell, the Death Star, and some of these have these really fancy reflective floors. This is a Kindle tablet, so you can use an iPad or anything like that. Put it on the floor, and you can easily get this nice reflective. Then I would probably maybe put my little spice rack doorway in there to help. Oh, there we go. You kind of help make it look even more realistic with the shiny black floor. Another thing, like I mentioned, is Star Wars can also be super grungy. I've got this bucket full of just space junk, which usually comes just accessories with toys. And so whenever I've got a diorama or something like that, I'll just throw a handful of space junk behind it to help kind of sell the depth. And like, for instance, Rey is a scavenger, so I'll just throw a bunch of this crap behind her, and it really sells that she's just, making her way, rummaging through the junk. Tatooine and Jakku are just like junk planets, or the underworld of Coruscant, or, like you name it. You can easily sell just, you don't have to have the exact right pieces. And a lot of time I will reuse the exact same things. Like this is that column from Cloud City. I will use that constantly all over the place. All right, let's see what else we have here. I think that's about it over here. I will jump back over to the main screen, dropping all my toys. Okay, thank you. A few more things. Again, phone and camera, or phone and toys, problem solved. I need to take a drink, I'm getting parched. 2 minutes? Oh, goodness, all right. Okay, I will show you a few more of the professional things that I have. A little mini tripod, and this one's even got a little Bluetooth clicker. So that way you can do, you can get kind of farther away. I do have a Canon Rebel, so I can take a little bit nicer pictures, but again, completely optional. You do not need to use that. With my Rebel, I've got a little remote shutter, so same kind of thing with that Bluetooth clicker. These are some of my favorites. This is called Atmosphere Aerosol. It gives this really good foggy effect, which you can kind of see, especially if you've got lasers or fire or all that stuff. You can really easily do this cool thing. And this guy is my air gun. It's originally used for plumbing, where you can like kind of shoot any blockage out of there. But what you do is you pump it up, and I have some of that blue styrofoam. You can see this, and so now it's everywhere all over my desk. That's how I achieve the water splashing effect. That's how I achieve a lot of my explosions and dirt, all that stuff. This is like $10 on Amazon, something like that. Now, all these tricks I just learned, I have to shout out to Sir Dork. He's the one who's got some amazing behind the scenes photos, all that stuff. Now, I promised pyrotechnics in the description. Again, do not try this at home, but don't try it in public, so I guess try it at home. Fireworks, these little crackling balls, great for atmospheric explosions. These sparklers, you know, you don't want to go too crazy with these, but you can do some really nice fire and explosion effects. Again, your toys might get busted up, so be careful. Have some water. Just use common sense if you're ever going to do pyrotechnics. Okay. That's it. You can follow me on Instagram at Dubact. Please donate to, I just lost it, Make-A-Wish. And that's it. I really appreciate you guys coming. And thanks again to Jess and everyone who participated. And we will close there. Thank you.